everybody. Welcome to the first episode of G-Dub's Point of View. I am G-Dub / Zach, whatever you want to call me. This is the brand new series on my channel. It's been a long time coming, but I'm excited to get some more content out there for you. Today's episode is going to be episode 1. There's going to be a lot of different variations and whatnot throughout the season, throughout the different episodes. This first one's going to be focused around New Japan. And they have their upcoming G1 tournament. For those who don't know, they have an annual tournament where I think it's something crazy, like 70% of their single matches happen. And it's guaranteed to have just all-time classic matches every single year. And people can really up their stock in the company in this tournament. And it happens pretty much almost every day throughout the month of July, the finals in August. So today I wanted to really go over the blocks and then look at the schedule and really see, like, you know, what the most exciting days are and what kind of my predictions are for the tournament and whatnot. A little background about myself in New Japan. I started watching wrestling probably when I was, I don't know, probably around 9 or 10. This is back in like 2009. I probably was about 10 or 11. Watched 2009, watched WWE religiously. Was a massive Jeff Hardy fan. Probably watched all the way through, I don't know, the middle of 2011, probably through all the Summer Punk stuff. But throughout that time, I had kept up with Jeff Hardy, and whenever he left originally in 2009, I found out that he went to TNA. I'm like, oh, okay, let me watch TNA, and so I, the guys like Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, those were familiar names just because I had watched TNA. And so my buddy and I had bought tickets to go see WrestleMania 32. Whenever we got there, or I guess my first prep to watching WrestleMania 32 and knowing all these new names and whatnot was watching the Royal Rumble of 2016. And there's AJ Styles, making his debut, and I'm like, holy shit, like where's this guy been? I thought he was in TNA this whole time. And so I go online to look, and it says he's in TNA through 2015 or whatever, and then I saw that he moved over to New Japan. I'm like, what the hell's New Japan? So I looked into it, became interested after seeing all the AJ Styles stuff, and then especially watching all the NXT stuff and seeing more indie style wrestling for the first time, like Shinsuke and whatnot. And I really started getting into New Japan, and I just love it. The way the guys wrestle and the way they perform their stories in the ring is really interesting to me. And the way it's more structured like a sport, while still keeping the pro wrestling feel, I think it's just a perfect blend of what it should be. And the fact that they're putting on just these all-time classic matches is just really entertaining to me. So I will preface this by saying I'm a massive Kenny Omega fan. He's definitely my favorite wrestler in the world for sure. Ever since that 2016 mark when I found him and the Young Bucks, seeing all their, I think it's the first show I saw was Dominion of 2016. So watching that ladder match with Elgin and then watching the Bucks do their junior stuff was really got me hooked on them. And so they've been my favorite trio, favorite tag team, favorite singles wrestler ever since then. So there might be a little bias, but I apologize in advance for that. So we're gonna take a look here real quick at the blocks for the G1 that have been announced. So for the A block, there's Tanahashi, Makabe, Elgin, Okada, Jay White, Yoshihashi, Fale, Hangman Page, Evil, and Minoru Suzuki. Now, this is a really well-balanced group, I think. I think having the guys like Tanahashi and Okada really, headlining the group is good because you're guaranteed to have a lot of these guys have really great matches. Like, every one of these competitors now is going to have two really good matches with Okada and Tanahashi. Having Suzuki the way he's performing this year has just been incredible. If you guys haven't seen his work this year, he probably had the best match at Wrestle Kingdom. As much as I am a fan of Kenny Omega, him and Chris Jericho did not have the best match at Wrestle Kingdom. It was definitely Suzuki and Goto. So definitely, I would definitely recommend checking out Suzuki Goto, because ever since then, since the start of 2018 at Wrestle Kingdom, he's had just unbelievable performances. All of his IC title matches have been really good. Even the one with Makabe was really solid. And just seeing what he's going to be able to do in the G1 is going to be incredible, because he's going to get incredible matches out of everybody. And those Okada rematches and Tanahashi rematches are going to be insane. They're going to be must-watch for sure. Makabe is interesting. He's always going to be in it after being former IWGP champ. I think he really is a little underrated in the sense that he's one of the New Japan dads, if you want to put him in that category. But he's still really good. He can still put on a lot of matches, and I'm hoping he can kind of perform a similar role that Nagata did last year. Which last year my first G1 was probably 26, but I didn't watch a whole lot. So last year was my first true year of watching the G1. And Nagata was unbelievable. He was probably the second best wrestler in that tournament, if not the best overall. Forgot it's that was on his final leg. Kojima was the same way 2 years ago, where or actually it was last year, the past 2 years Kojima's been really good as well. So I'm looking forward to Makabe and seeing how well he does. Elgin, of course, personal issues aside, the guy can wrestle, especially over Japan, and with the shape he's gotten in lately, he's gonna put on some just monster matches. Him and Makabe will be fun. Him and Suzuki will be really fun. Elgin and Tanahashi always put on really good stuff whenever they get to wrestle each other. And then Elgin Okada is really good as well. He's gonna perform just insanely well. They might, depending on how the G1 show goes. By the way, guys, this is a real casual thing. Feel free to grab a drink. I'm gonna have some water with me. So if we're just hanging out talking, so feel free to just kind of take breaks or whatever. It's just kind of a free thinking kind of deal. So yeah, I'm curious how the special goes in San Francisco, because if Jay keeps the belt, they could really do something special with Elgin. Now that Elgin's kind of slipped away from the open weight title scene, and is not in the same block as Goto this year. They could have a surprise like Elgin win over Jay White to set up a U.S. title match. So I think that'll be fun if they do that. But it could also, White could lose the belt at the G1 special, and then they could just have a really good match. Okada, of course, best wrestler on the planet. As much as I do have a bias towards Kenny, Okada is overall the best wrestler on the planet. Now, I'm really excited to see the story they tell, because the guy's had the belt for the last two G1s, and now he's finally going into it without it. First time in, I guess it'd be, it's the first time in 3 or 4 years he won't be going to the G1 without the belt. So I'm basing just kind of what I've seen off the Kazuna Road stuff that they've been putting out. He looks just defeated. He won't even do his pose. Like, of course, for the recent stuff like the Suzuki anniversary show, he did the pose and everything, but on televised content, he hasn't done the Rainmaker pose, and he just looks like a little kid. So I'm really interested to see the road they take. I have some thoughts because I've looked at the schedule. So when we get to the schedule, I'll talk some more about some planning I think they'll do with him. But he's gonna put on a great match with every single person in the block. Every match is gonna be a 4-star plus match, even the lesser guys. So I think the storytelling with Okada is gonna be really good this year. Jay White, I think this is a really good opportunity to prove himself. Now he could be going into this as a champion, but depending on whether or not he loses to Juice in San Francisco, which I have a feeling he might. Kenny won the belt at the G1 special last year and held it for 6 months all the way through the end of January. Going into and I did some really good things with the belt. Had Chris Jericho come in, had great matches with Juice and Trent, and really did some good things with the belt and make it. It was the second best belt in the company, which was, I think, really important for that as a new belt. Now with Jay, and fortunately his reign, I think it's been kind of marred a little bit by weird booking. Of course, they're trying to tell the story of him and David Finlay, having this rivalry as Young Lions, but I don't think it required a U.S. title match. I think that really did lower the standard of that belt, because all of a sudden it's main eventing a show that not a lot of things are happening on. It's in Korakuen, which of course is important to their history, but you look at the IC title, which it was held by it was Tanahashi and Suzuki, and then it was defended on big shows against like even Makabe, but Makabe's a decent name, and then Naito won it from Suzuki, and Naito's defending it against Chris Jericho at Dominion. The IC title is now the second best belt in the company, and I think part of that is due to Jay's reign. Now, I think it'd be really a smart idea to get it off of him at the right place, which I think is San Francisco. You have a white hot opponent in the sense of fame or in the sense of popularity in Juice. the guy is just riding a huge wave. He's over domestically in Japan. They love him over there. He's got the whole get up and the connects with the fans, and they really, really like him over there. And then, stateside, I think he's a big. Everyone really enjoys him. The guy's putting out some of the best promos in the world right now, regardless of company. So I think it'd be a good time to get the belt off of him, and just have him come in fresh. Have his first G1. Really just prove that there's people still doubt him about his in-ring skill, and I think this would be a good chance for him to not even focus on being a champion, just focus on being a wrestler and proving people wrong, which I think he can do, because I think he's got a lot of talent. Yoshihashi, I mean, the guy's kind of a charisma vacuum. I'm not a huge fan, but he can put on decent matches when the time's right. So I don't have too much to say about him because I don't watch a lot of his matches because I think he's boring. But I mean, we'll see what they do with him. He'll get a couple wins here and there, and that'll be that. Fale will have really good matches with the big guys like Evil and Elgin and Makabe. He's always dangerous because he has a track record of beating Tanahashi all the time. So I think he'll be okay. He's gonna put up his wins. He's not gonna reach the final, but he'll put up his wins. Cause a couple upsets here and there, and then he'll put on some good matches with the big men. So that's all important. Hangman Page. That's the excitement this year. I think for me is seeing Hangman really get a chance to prove himself. I've seen this guy wrestle in person, going to Ring of Honor shows, and he's insanely impressive. There's a lot of stuff he does that you wouldn't notice on TV or on a broadcast that you see in person. That's very impressive. And the shooting star headbutt in person is way more impressive than I ever thought it would be. So the guy's just got athleticism out of his ass. It's really incredible, and I think he didn't get a fair shake with that Jay White match in Long Beach back in March. They really kind of got shit on by that crowd. I thought it was a really solid match. Now we'd go back to Jay's reign this year. I think that was something that actually was a good stepping stone for him. Was the Hangman match. Both of those guys really did well. They work well together. But the crowd, had just had a pretty hot tag match, and they were gearing up for Golden Lovers Young Bucks. They just didn't give a fuck, which I feel bad for him for. But Hangman's got a chance to really prove himself, and I think he can. His match with Jay White, his rematch with Jay White will be fun. I think he can do some really incredible stuff with Okada and Tanahashi, and then him Suzuki. I mean, Hangman can hit. He can hit pretty hard, so him Suzuki. Wouldn't be surprised if Hangman and Evil could be a sleeper, really good match in this block. Now to move on to Evil, the guy's really impressive in the G1s. He's been, I think this will be his third one. He had the surprise win last year against Okada, and of course had a kind of, I say, disappointing match with Okada at King of Pro Wrestling, but I mean, it was still 4-star, of course, whatever weight that holds to you. It was one of Okada's weaker matches on his 720-day reign, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the theatrics of it with Evil coming in. He's coming in on the throne, and he's really treated like a big deal. And I think they do think highly of him over there. I think Gato is thinks he can be one of their big bruisers to come, because he's still young. I mean, he's a young kid. So his rematch with Okada will be really interesting. Him and Tanahashi will burn it up for sure. And Evil Suzuki, they'll beat the piss out of each other. It'll be fun. And then, of course, we talk about Suzuki. Guy's just a fucking legend. And he's going to put on 9 classic matches. Well, 8 if we're not counting Yoshihashi. But he's gonna do really, really well. And every match will probably be must-watch. Just to see what he does. His rematch with Okada and Tanahashi will be insane, and they'll be must watch for sure. Now to move on to the B block, I won't go through all the names like this. I'll start with Juice. Of course, Juice is riding a great wave right now. Could potentially be going into it as the U.S. Heavyweight Champion, which I hope he does. Which could set up some interesting matches, and interesting results if he ends up going in as the U.S. Champion. Juice has gotten so much better over the past year and a half that I've been, or I guess it'd be a little over 2 years that I've been watching. He's just really improved himself as a performer and as a wrestler, as a technical wrestler. He's gotten so much better. So I'm really excited to see what he does this tournament. Then of course you have Goto, who right now is the never open weight champion. He's always good for good matches. I'm curious to see. I think he'll retain in San Francisco, beating Jeff Cobb, which I'm excited to see that match because I think Cobb's great and should have a regular spot in New Japan. Of course, with all the Lucha Underground stuff that he's doing, it's kind of tough to keep him in there. But I'm curious. You know, it'll be a really good match. They're gonna hit each other hard. But I think Goto will retain, and that sets up some good matches in this, which would be, Goto Kenny was really good last time it happened, in the G1 finals 2 years ago. I think he could put on some really good matches with most people in this group, and so I'll be definitely looking for Goto for sure. Let's see, next guy's Ishii. Of course, Ishii's just a tank. Puts on incredible stuff all the time. I'm actually really looking forward to Ishii Yano. I don't know how many times they've wrestled. I mean, they're just in the G1 tournaments essentially. But I think I'm really interested to see how that ends up. Ishii Kenny rematch will be incredible. Those guys put on an absolute show every time they wrestle. So that'll be fun. I think Ishii Ibushi will be really fun. Naito, Sonata, ZSJ. I mean, they're all going to put on barn burners of matches with Ishii. And I think that comes down to Ishii being such a great seller for being a big man, that these guys can really get their offense in. And then Ishii can make that fiery comeback and just, start laying the clubs on people. Yano, of course, you're going to have the comedy guy in there. He's going to sneak his wins in there every now and then. His match with Kenny would be really fun. But they had a fun match last year. Of course, it didn't get rated highly just because it was a comedy match, but I think Kenny said he really enjoyed it, and that was one of his favorite matches of the year just because it allowed him to go back to his DDT roots of being the comedy guy. And I think Yano allows that. He allows for some fun stuff. Him and Tama had a really fun, I guess that was last year, yeah. Him and Tama had a really fun match last year, where Tama kind of came out, behind I think he was wearing like a robe or something. Yeah, he was wearing Yano's robe, and they all this antics and stuff. And Tama can play that really well. So, and then I think Yano Naito will be fun. Now we get to the current IWGP Heavyweight Champion, and obviously my favorite wrestler on the planet, who I think is the best big match wrestler on the planet, Kenny Omega. He's got a lot of interesting stories to tell. Obviously, going in as champion. All these guys are going to be gunning for him. He's going to have to put on classic matches with everybody to prove himself to the company that he's deserving the belt, because every time Okada comes in, he has those matches. Of course, you had the big ones, of course, the Golden Lovers at Budokan, which we'll talk about more in the schedule, is probably the most must-watch match. Probably. It is the most must-watch match of the entire tournament other than the finals. Kenny and Tom will be really interesting with the whole VC Civil War storyline that they're playing out. A rematch of last year's finals of Omega Naito will be incredible. They're going to put on a show. Him and Sonata will be fun. I think Sonata really has something to prove. So I think against a guy like Kenny being the heavyweight champ will be definitely be someone that he needs to perform well against. So I think they'll have a great match. My most look forward match, though, apart from like Ibushi and Naito, probably is his match with ZSJ. I think Zach has really proven himself on a big scale this year. I'll talk about it more in a little bit. But I think he has let he's really showed out on like a grand stage this year, and having a heavyweight title match with Okada and having a great match, and then all of his big time matches in the New Japan Cup with all their top stars, and really doing well and really showing that his style works. I think that match with Kenny will be it will just be one of the best matches of the tournament for sure. Probably top 5. I think it'll be top 5 because I think people will be really underestimating him as far as talent goes. So I think he's really got a lot to prove in that match, because people might not really, and I think his style against Kenny's will be really, really interesting. Now Ibushi, of course, are making his second straight year. He's going to have that rematch with Naito from the opening night of last year, where they tried to kill each other. so they might try to kill each other again. I think his match with Ishii will be really fun, because Ibushi hits hard. For being a guy that does flips and all this athletic shit, he hits hard. And him and Ishii, and like even him and Goto, I think they will just club each other. I think it'd be really fun to watch. So, and of course him and Kenny, which we'll touch on more later. Tama, I think Tama can do some good things this tournament. I think a lot of his story really revolves around the stuff with Ibushi and the stuff with Kenny. As far as his really big opportunities to tell a story. Just because of the whole Bullet Club, deal right now. He might end up being the leader after San Francisco with all the teases they've been doing on the YouTube videos and whatnot. Who knows? He might be leading this new faction of Bullet Club guys, which we have no clue of right now. It could be him and Fale being the OG guys, where he really could have a different story to tell. So we'll just have to see after San Francisco, obviously. I think Tama and Sonata will be really fun. Him and Juice should be really, really good as well. And then, who knows? I mean, he could end up, beating Goto and having an open weight title shot or something like that. Or I don't see him beating Kenny, just because of also what happened last year. Him having the advantage and then Kenny getting that win. I think Kenny being the champ, he's got a different storyline that I think he needs to take, or that I think will happen. That I'll talk about more when we go over the schedule. Naito, of course, just coming off the IC title loss, which will, it's gonna. He doesn't, obviously his character is that he doesn't care, so it's not going to matter as far as the matches go. Him and Yano will be fun. I think him and Juice could really tear the house down. That'll be really entertaining. Of course, Naito Sonata will be a really interesting matchup, just because I don't think they've ever wrestled each other, because they've never been in the same block. And of course, they're in the same stable, so they wouldn't ever wrestle each other anyway. I think they could really pull something out that'll be special. Speaking of Sonata, he's got a lot to prove this year. Last year he kind of had a disappointing G1. He had some good matches here and there, but I think he was, for the most part, people expected a lot more of him. Especially last year as a general rule, all throughout 2017, people expected a lot more of him. I think he started changing that around this year with Wrestle Kingdom, and he had the tag match with Evil and Killer Elite Squad at Wrestle Kingdom, where they won. But I think he really showed out in that match, and then he, the next night at New Year's Dash, set up, had the, beat up Okada and had the heavyweight title match, and people didn't like it. They thought it was a little disappointing. I think he did really well. I think that was a really good match for him. I think Okada was still kind of coming off some issues, just from being on the road all the time. I think they put on a great match, and so I think he's really proved himself again this year. And I think this year his G1 should really be a good point for him to have all these great matches with people and really prove to the company that he really is the future, which I still think they think he is. I still think they see him as a future heavyweight champion, a future face of the company, and I think this is a good chance for him to prove that. And then of course we get to Zack Sabre Jr., probably the unsung hero of New Japan this year, with his New Japan Cup performances and his incredible heavyweight title match. And just being a real asshole as far as being a member of Suzuki Gun. Of course, they put him with Michinoku, who has just been great as his hype man. I think he's been really good. He's been really fun to watch. His style really clashes with everybody's. It'd be fun to see. Him and Yano could do some really funny things. Of course, I talked about him and Kenny and him and Nabushi. We'll just tear it up. Him and Ishii will be fun. Him and Goto. ZSJ and Juice should be entertaining. So yeah, I'm the field this year I think is really evenly balanced. I think there's incredible matches in every block. Of course, you're gonna have the ones here or there. Of course, the Yano matches can get so-so. The Yoshihashi matches are kind of whatever. But overall, I think every night's gonna have a must-watch match. And so here I'm gonna stop this. I'll load up the schedule and we'll talk about that. So I'll see you guys here in a little bit. So here's the schedule. Big shout out to Evan Deadly Sins, who's a user on the Squared Circle subreddit and a mod on the New Japan Pro Wrestling subreddit. He put together this whole schedule with all the block matches. So thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. So here we are. It's got the full 18 nights. So let's just get into it. So night 1 is an A block night, obviously. First couple matches will be okay. Makabe Yoshihashi, it'll probably be okay. definitely the lesser match of the card that night, which is why it's going first. Then you have Fale Page, which as a Bullet Club match, it'll be okay. I don't think Page can really show what he can do against Fale, but since it's a better storyline match, it'll be an interesting match. Elegant Evil will be, I think, fun. They're gonna beat the piss out of each other. So we'll see how that goes. I think it'll be a good match though. I don't even know who I'd have winning that match, just because I don't know what routes they would take with each guy and how many points they want to get, who's beating who, and that kind of thing. So I could see either one of them winning that match. Tanahashi Suzuki, of course, rematch from January, New Beginning, where Suzuki was victorious and getting the IC title away from Tanahashi. Now, I don't know if they'll revisit that, though, to tell that story. So I don't know if they want to have the continuation of Suzuki just having Tanahashi's number this year, or if they want to have Tanahashi get his revenge win on Suzuki here. But that'll be a really fun match, because I think they'll call back on that January match where Suzuki just has Tanahashi in submission holds for 20 minutes and just wrenches his shit out of place into where he eventually has to tap. Of course, there are 30-minute time limits in the G1, so they could do a draw, but I doubt they'll do a draw on night one. So I think my gut would say Suzuki would win, but it could, if they really want to start it off hot, they could have Tanahashi win as well. Of course, the main event of the first night is Okada Jay White. What a great story that this is leading into with Jay's kind of secret mission inside of Chaos to kind of tear them apart in a way, to have a lot of infighting in Chaos. And I think it'd be really interesting if Jay goes in as champ, because I think it'll have a different story to tell, because Jay's the only champ left in Chaos, after they had that big picture taken back in February, where, well, I guess, okay, Goto's the openweight champion right now, but obviously he could go into it not champs, both of them. But I think it'd be a really interesting story to tell. I don't think he'll be champion, but in a way, I think it'll be a really good story. It'll be a great match, probably must watch. And personally, I have Jay winning that match. I think it starts a deeper story for Okada, which is why I think it start off hot with a big upset on night one, just for the tournament in general. It has Jay on this huge trajectory for the tournament, which could or could not pay off, and then it has Okada starting real low as his big payoff. Because I think I'll talk about it after the next night, kind of what my thoughts are for Okada and what he'll do in the tournament. So night 2, which is the first night of the B block, you have Ishii Yano, which of course will be a fun match. They're the two buddies, they're tag team champs and whatnot. So I mean they'll have a fun little match. Juice Tama be interesting. I'll definitely have to look out for that one. Goto Sonata could be a real sleeper for that night. They can have a great match. Those guys can do something special with, I think, the right opponents. I think those could be the right opponents for each other. Ibushi ZSJ rematch. I believe that's a rematch from the New Japan Cup. They're gonna kill each other, and it's gonna be entertaining. Of course, I don't think it'll be as good as the main event, but it'll definitely be the second best match on that card, and it could be potentially one of the best matches in the tournament. I think they're both athletic in their own ways, and I think they could really play well off each other. Oh yeah, they did have that match in the New Japan Cup with ZSJ winning, so they could tell that story again of ZSJ constantly wearing down Ibushi, or Ibushi getting his revenge win. And of course, main event, Naito Omega, the rematch of the G1 27 finals, where of course they murdered each other for 35 minutes. I don't think we're going to see any pile drivers off a table through almost through a barricade spot again, or constant topes and whatnot, but they're gonna kill it. It'll be one of the probably top 5 matches of the whole tournament, more than likely. So it's going to be must watch. If there's only a couple matches you catch all tournament, I would recommend that one for sure. I do have Kenny winning. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I have Naito winning that one, because I think it tells a grander story. The way I see Wrestle Kingdom working out is a rematch of Wrestle Kingdom 12. And I think Naito wins simply for the fact that he'll get that shot at King of Pro Wrestling. And I think he wins. and this is me. I'm a Kenny guy. Like I want him to have another. I want him to have a 1.5 year long reign. I just don't see it happening. And of course, I think in a way Kenny's proven himself that he can handle the main event of Wrestle Kingdom. The only thing is, I think you have to have the ace, which is Okada right now, in the main event, because that's how New Japan works as far as the Wrestle Kingdom main events go. And he has to face either Naito or Omega. And I think because Naito was denied it last year, I think he'd get it this year. But you never know. Kenny could win that match very easily. And I think it sets up. I don't know. I think it's hard. It's tough to call. But if I was a betting man, I'd bet on Naito winning night one, just because he also won night one last year, and setting up a King of Pro Wrestling match. At least setting up that match. Now we'll get there. If we get there, I think either guy could win that match and main event against Okada. But I think Naito wins here to set up that match anyway. So you have night 2 of the A block of Yoshihashi Evil. Elgin Page will be fun. Okada Fale is always a good time. I think they had a really good heavyweight title match that people shit on. I enjoyed it because it's a way different style that Okada has to wrestle, which goes to the point of Okada having the greatest title run of this generation for sure, and one of the greatest of all time, is how many different opponents and different styles he had to go through, and one of them being Fale, facing this big bruiser that doesn't move, doesn't take moves. It's a lot to get him down. I think we'll have another fun match. Makabe Suzuki, they had a really fun IC title match this year, so I'm looking forward to that match. And then Tanahashi Jay White, of course, a rematch from Wrestle Kingdom 12, and where I think this one has the potential to be a top match of the tournament, because they both have a lot to prove from the last time they fought each other. Now, of course, Tanahashi's gone on record. I don't think him and Kenny get along real well, and he's gone on record saying that he was happy that Kenny was able to get something out of Jay White that he couldn't. Maybe something's changed. I hope something's changed, because their match at Wrestle Kingdom was pretty boring. Of course, it was Jay coming off of Excursion and doing the whole big switchblade deal, which he's kind of lessened back on. Well, I mean, he still does all the weird hand motions and whatnot, but he's not like super dark and edgy, I don't think, anymore. He's just kind of being a dickhead, which is great. I think it's a really good character angle for him. I think Tanahashi being like the good guy ace against like dickhead Jay White is a better matchup than like former ace old guy Tanahashi against newcomer off of Excursion, edgy Dark Lord Jay White. I think their character angles are both better. I think they both learned a lot, especially Jay, and I think they'd have a better setup for their match. I think it'll be much better than their match at Wrestle Kingdom. It also doesn't have as much to live up to, because they were the third from the end at Wrestle Kingdom, which is a huge spot to put them in, especially as a big singles title match. Whereas this is just a G1 match, so I think they have a better chance of making it a really good match this year. So I'm looking forward to it. So we have night 4, where you have Sonata, Tama. Of course, it'll be good. Yano ZSJ. I think it'd be fun. They could do some good antics with that. Juice Ibushi could really tear the house down. Ishii Naito will be incredible. They had a great match at the G1 special last year. I think those guys match up really well against each other, especially with kind of the no shits given Naito against the smash mouth hard nosed Ishii. I think they have some really cool spots that they can do because of that. So that'll definitely be a good match to watch for that night. And then Goto Omega, they had a great match, like I said, at G126 finals with Kenny going over. I think he goes over again here. But I think Goto would really have like something to prove, and really want that heavyweight title shot. And so I think character-wise, he'll put a lot in to the match. He'll make it really entertaining. Night 5, we have Yoshihashi Suzuki, which I think it'll be fun just for the fact that Suzuki would beat the shit out of Yoshihashi, which is always fun to see Yoshihashi get beat the shit out of. Elgin White, which could set up something if White is still champion, but if he's not, could just be a good match. Tanahashi Fale, of course, if I'm doing my little pick'ems, like if you guys aren't on Reddit, they have a little G1 like where you can select the wins for every night. If I'm doing that, I'm picking Fale because he has a track record of beating Tanahashi every G1. They're always in the same block, and Fale always wins. So it might be a little spoilerish, just thinking, well, but you have to look at the track records. I mean, Gato does a great job of looking at track records and really keep either wanting to change it up depending if it's a certain milestone match or we're keeping the same way like with recently with Takahashi and Desperado. And I had no clue that Desperado was a young lion under a different name. And every time he fought Takahashi, he won. He was like 12-0, going over the different promotions and whatnot. He was like 12-0, and so Desperado winning in Best of Super Juniors against him, everyone was kind of like, "Whoa, what? Why is that?" Well, if you look at actual, it just made him 13-0. So to have, and then Takahashi stopped it with their most recent match to be 13-1, but it was a big milestone one, being the actual junior heavyweight defense. So I could see Fale winning again for sure. Makabe, Evil, two big guys that'll just beat the shit out of each other. Be fun, be entertaining. Now, Okada Page will be, I think, a great match. I think this is Hangman's chance. This is Hangman's do or die. This is where he proves if he's a top foreign talent for them for years to come. Of course, unless he gets an NXT offer, but right now he's doing great things. I would like to see him stay outside of WWE for a while. This could really set him up to be a huge. He doesn't have to win at all, and I don't think he will. Let's see, who is Okada facing? Fale? Well, he could lose to Fale. This is kind of my thought of Okada, is that he could lose the first two nights and then just shit stomp his way through the rest of the tournament. So I have him losing to Jay White. He could lose to Fale, so that could be the story they tell. It's also very possible that they have him lose to Page. Because if they really believe in Page and what he's been doing, because I think he's been doing some good stuff over in New Japan. Of course, he's killing it in Ring of Honor. If you see a lot of his singles matches in Ring of Honor he puts on, he does really good work. I think they could potentially have Page upset Okada. If they really believe in Page and want him to be one of their big foreign talents for years to come, I do think they'll have him go over. And it sets off this fire in Okada to where he starts 1 and 2, and just sets ablaze the rest of the tournament. But this is really Hangman's opportunity to prove himself as a singles wrestler, that he can compete, and you're going up against the world's greatest wrestler. That is your time to prove it. So then we have night 6, Corkin. We have Ibushi, Yano. Be interesting. Sonata, ZSJ will be fun. Be really entertaining. Juice and Naito will be fun. They're going to put on a good show. Kenny Tama, of course, great storytelling. They could put on a good match too, but the storytelling element's what's really entertaining, and I keep saying the word entertaining. What will be really good about that match is the storytelling aspect. Of course, I think Kenny goes over. And then you have Goto Ishii. I think it could. What I would do there is have Ishii win if Goto's still champ, which I think he will be. I have Ishii win there because it sets up a classic open weight title match down the line. Ishii's so good in that Smash Mouth open weight style that him and Goto having a rematch. They've already fought each other before. I think, at least in the G1s they have, and because of course they're the same faction. But every match that Goto does for his open weight title usually is pretty good. And I think him and Ishii going at it again would be really fun, especially as a title match would be really good. So here we have night 7, which is an A-block night. We have Elgin Yoshihashi, whatever. Jay White versus Suzuki. I think that's actually, having that as the second match of the night, I think it's kind of insulting. I think that could be really, really good. I think it could be better than most of the matches on that card. I think it's at least second best, if not the best match on that card. To have it go seconds, I don't know. Tanahashi Page, actually, that could rival it as well. I don't have a lot of faith in the main event, even though it is Okada and I love him. I just don't think him and Makabe match up real well. Of course, they could surprise me. Makabe could pull out all his stops and have a great match, but And of course, Evil followed just 2 bruisers. You know, be a fun bruiser match. But really, I'm really looking at White Suzuki and Tanahashi Page as the big matches for that card. So that'd be good. Night 8 here. Goto Yano, entertaining. Naito Tama, be fun. They could put on a good match. Ishii ZSJ, I think that should be a great match. Those styles are really different. And with how lanky ZSJ is versus the short, stocky Ishii, they could do some really good spots, especially with the whole octopus deal and, you know, Ishii being so strong. They could really do something special there. Juice Kenny, rematch from last year. Obviously, Juice went over last year in a shock to have his U.S. title match, and they put on a barn burner of a U.S. title match. Obviously, I think Kenny gets his win back here because I don't think they're going to set up a Juice heavyweight title match. As much fun as that would be, I don't think they're going to do that to set that up. But it will be a good match. And then Ibushi Sonata, which is almost like a match for the future, even though Ibushi's much older. Well, I don't know about much older, but he's older. They're going to have really steal the show that night, for sure. I mean, steal the show as far as the main event, but that'll definitely be must watch. Juice and Kenny really could put something special over that, but it'll be hard because that's 2 outstanding athletes in one match. They both hit hard. They both do crazy flips. It's going to be entertaining. Then we have night 9, I guess, July 27th. Evil Page, I think, could be interesting. Could something to keep an eye on. Jay White Fale, be okay. White could do something special that match. Elgin Suzuki, they'll beat the piss out of each other. Be fun. Tanahashi Makabe, it'll be okay. I think Makabe could definitely do something well in that spot. And then Okada Yoshihashi. I mean, it's Okada, so most of his matches are good to watch. But I just don't see any promise with Yoshihashi, so I think Elgin Suzuki probably will end up being the best match in that card. Unless Evil Page could do something really special, which they can because they have really good styles. I think that match really well up against each other. I think they could do something good there, though. Then we have, night 10 in Nagoya. We have Tama ZSJ to lead things off. Tama ZSJ could be good. I think Tama would really have to bust out some more of his athleticism in that match to really make it really a clash of styles. Because he doesn't do all the big submission stuff. He's more of the ground and pound style wrestler. Juice Yano, they'll be fun because Juice can really do over the top stuff and really be goofy. And I think that's why he has a really big appeal because he can be serious when he needs to be serious. Like all the stuff with Jay White recently has been really like digging deep into his soul to find a deeper reason. I think he's done great with that. And him and Yano could just be just a goofball like he usually is. And so I think it'd be fun. Goto Naito, that could be good. I like the sound of it. Of course, I don't know their history just because I haven't been watching for too long. But I think it could be good. You have Kenny Sonata, 2 great athletes again. Be similar to the not as flippy as the Ibushi Sonata match will be, but I think they could do something really, really good. And then Ibushi Ishii, they'll beat the piss out of each other. They'll beat the absolute shit out of each other, for sure. I don't know who I'd have going over just because I don't know what the point standings will be at that moment. I believe it would be Ibushi, but it could be at a point where Ibushi's really good on points and wouldn't need it, where Ishii would get the win. But I would see Ibushi going over. But I think it would take a lot because he's really going to have to wear Ishii down. It'll be fun. It'll be a really good match, though. I'm looking forward to it. So we have night 11, I guess, at this point. July 30th. Kabe Fale, just 2 big dudes. White Page, of course, match of the young foreigners. I think they could steal the show that night if they really want to prove themselves to the office. Of course, Page got to deal with Ring of Honor. He he's over there as a guest, right? But Jay's a New Japan guy. He's gonna be a New Japan guy. He's set up as their number one foreign talent whenever Kenny decides enough's enough. He's born and bred in their dojo system. He knows they see a lot. He's got a lot to prove. And I think both those guys, if they come together and go, listen, we can really make a name for ourselves. We do really well in this match. That could end up being the best match on that card. I don't think it will be, just because of what is going on in the main event, but it really could be. And I would like to see it. I'd really like to see those guys just go balls to the wall in that match. Tanahashi, Yoshihashi, it'll be okay. Tanahashi always puts on something good. Evil Suzuki, I think could be really good. Evil's got a little bit to prove, and I think against the best wrestler, one of the best, probably the third best wrestler in the company this year for them, in Suzuki, I think could be a great match. And then Elgin Okada, they always put on some really good stuff, and this year will probably be no different, especially with Elgin in the shape he's in. They could do some, and Okada kind of telling his story. Of course, I think Okada goes over, but I think that will end up being the best match on that show. But Jay and Paige, I'm looking as being the second best, unless they could also be third best and have a really great match, and Suzuki Evil could do something special. But I'm looking at Jay White and Paige to really show something out that night. So we have nights. Oh God, what are we on? 12. August 1st, B Block night. We have Ishii Tama, could be good. Robinson Sonata or Juice Sonata. I think they could do something special. They could have. I don't know what their chemistry is like, but I think they could do something good. Yano Naito will have good antics. Naito's just kind of. I think it'd be more fun if Naito really goes into the ungovernable side and the really no shit's given for that match, where like Yano ties him up and he just doesn't care. I think that'd be pretty fun. And then Kenny ZSJ, which I think it'll be better than the main event, even though the main event will be killer with Goto Ibushi. Kenny ZSJ will be one of my top matches of the tournament. I'm calling it now because I see the potential in those two. The language barrier, of course, Kenny's bilingual, so it doesn't matter. But the styles are really interesting to me. Kenny's kind of got this all-around style of the flips, the technical, everything. I think he's not as good as Okada as adjusting at his different opponents, but I think something like CSJ with that heavy submission style could work really well with Kenny's style. I do think it'll be one of the best matches of the tournament, and I think it'll be a good match for CSJ to show really what he has. He obviously showed a lot of what he could do at Sakura Genesis, but now it's 3 months later, or at this point it'll be 4 months to the day later from that match, and I think he'll have something to prove, and he'll have new stuff in his book to really show out. So we have night 13. Jay White, Yoshihashi, Makabe Page will be okay. Elgin Fale, two big dudes. Tanahashi Evil, I think could be good. If Evil really steps up his game. Okada Suzuki rematch, must watch. I mean, those guys beat each other to a pulp last year, which ended in a draw, which of course led into the longer story of Kenny finally going over Okada and getting the final spot over him because of the draw. They could draw again. I don't think so because of the story they're telling this year with Okada, or what I want their story to be. But with that being the second, the best wrestler in the company and the third best wrestler in the company this year going at each other in that brawl, heavy hitting, beat each other up style, it'll be must watch for sure. So we do night 14 here in Osaka. We have Yano Sonata, be okay. Goto Tama, be interesting. I don't know if you have to watch it, but it could be good. Juicy as J I find interesting. Two foreign guys that really have an interesting style clash. I'll definitely watch it. I'm interested in seeing what they do. Naito Ibushi, of course, rematch from night 1 last year, where they murdered each other, and they'll try to do it again. Wow, I actually didn't even realize how stacked that those last two matches were, because they're both rematches from last year that are incredible. It'll definitely be, those two will fight for match of the night. The Naito Ibushi will be fun. It'll be must watch. And then Ishii Omega, of course, they had their series last year, their 3-match series between New Japan Cup, Dontaku, and the G1 Special, where they had incredible singles matches every single night. And I think it's going to be no different here, especially the way Kenny's been wrestling this year. He has that confidence going in as champ. I think they'll have another classic. It's potentially 5 stars. I don't think I've even said that for a match. Naito Ibushi could get close to, but I think Ishii Omega has the chance to be the first 5-star match in this tournament. Of course, it probably will happen earlier because one of those good main events from earlier on will step up and they'll really put on something classic. But that, to me, that's the first one that really has a really good shot, because those guys put on magic every time they're in the ring together. So let's see, what is this, night 15 here in Osaka? Yoshihashi Fale, I might skip that match. I like Fale, but I might skip that match. Paige Suzuki, I think, could be really good. I like Paige in this spot here. It's almost like taking your due, in a sense. They're like, well, you're not a young lion for us, but we're still putting you in a match with Suzuki. And I think Suzuki could rough him up and really help him out. As far as really toughening up. I think Paige is a tough guy anyway. I've seen some of the shots he's take. But as far as being New Japan tough, I think is different. And seeing him in the eyes of the crowd, especially a crowd like Osaka, I think if he puts on, he could lose. I think he'll lose. But if he really puts up like a fight and, the never say die attitude, he could really get over in that match. So I'm definitely going to look into that one when it comes around. Kabe, Jay White, could be interesting. Okay. Tanahashi Elgin always put on a good time. And then Okada Evil, of course, rematch from last year where Evil won. I think Okada goes over this year, but they had their G1 match was better than their heavyweight title match. So I'm looking forward to another G1 match for those guys. We have night 16 here in Yokohama. Juice, Ishii. Juice got those heavy hands. That's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough match. Goto ZSJ, I think could be really. That's a really good clash of styles, I think. Between the brawler and the submission style, could be good. Ibushi Tama, of course, storyline wise is really good, and athleticism wise, be great. Yano Kenny, of course, rematch from last year, where probably the best comedy match on the tour, one of the best comedy matches I've ever seen. Because as Kenny had put, it allows him to kind of go back to his old DDT comedy roots that he became known for, and I really want to see what they do this year, because it's a nice break from the real serious stuff that New Japan always, the G1 is. And of course, Yano matches are usually not too good. The stuff he puts on that are the best are really the ones with serious guys, like Ishii will be really fun, especially because they're buddies. And then the stuff he puts on with Kenny is always entertaining. I'm really interested to see how that goes. Of course, you have night 17, which is the A block finals. Yoshihashi Page. At that point, I think they've already said, like, Page is not going to win this thing. Any of those top 3 matches won't win. Which sucks, because that means Suzuki won't even get close. But they just, he's 50. They don't see him as, potentially main eventing the Dome. As sad as that is, because the guy's such a good wrestler still. But Fale Suzuki, actually, now that I look at it, Makabe Elgin, Hangman, or Page and Yoshihashi would be okay. Fale Suzuki could be really fun. I think they could do some really good things with that. Jay White Evil, battle 2 young guys that both have something to prove. Really could do something special. Of course, the main event of that night, Tanahashi Okada, is going to be one of the best matches, because every time, I don't even know what it is now. They've had 10 or 11 singles matches. I think this will be one of 2 that have not been for the heavyweight title. The other one being their match in 2016 G1 final, or G1 A block final, where they both had a draw, or where they drew, and it allowed Goto to go through. I don't see it going to a draw. I think Okada wins. It depends on the point standings. It could be a draw. It could come down to Tanahashi needing the win over Okada, and they draw again, and Okada goes through. Because I think Okada goes through for sure. But of course, it'll be must watch. It's Tanahashi Okada in a singles match. Everyone has a chance of 5 stars, and this one's probably no different, depending on how banged up they are. But that could add to the story like it did last year with Kenny and Okada. So we have night 18, which is the B block final. Yano Tama, great rematch, of course. Great comedy stuff. Ishii Sanada, I think is a really good match for Sanada to prove himself. Juice Goto could be really interesting, depending on the title stance after San Francisco. If Juice doesn't have the title, I could see him winning to set up an open weight title shot. If I think Goto still have the title, but it could be a double champ match right there where it really doesn't matter who goes over. But I think it'll be a fun match either way. Then you have Naito ZSJ, really good potential in that match right there. It won't be match of the night. It'll be second best match of the night because, of course, B block final, where it's the main event, and it will be the B block final of Ibushi, Kenny Omega in Budokan, which for some of you that maybe don't know the history, that is the last match they had, or that is the last time they had a match against each other. It was in Budokan in 2012 at Peter Pan. That is the building that Ibushi was banned from until this year. Because in that match he did a moonsault off the balcony. And there's links out there. I would highly recommend watching that match if you haven't seen it. It's 2012 DDT. There's been spots that Kenny has gone on record saying he will never take again. And 2 of those are from that match. Being the top rope Hurricane Rana to the floor with no padding. And another one was the Phoenix Plex, or the Steamalizer, as most people know it. Into the corner, like, it was so sketchy. I believe Ibushi wins there, because I think Ibushi makes it to the finals. I see it as Ibushi kicking out of a one-winged angel, because he's the only person to ever kick out of that move. Not even the greatest wrestler on the planet, the most strongest book wrestler in New Japan has kicked out of that move, whereas Ibushi has. And knowing Gedo, knowing his knowledge of history of these different guys, he'll have Ibushi kick, or they'll plan it as to where Ibushi kicks out of another one. And he goes through. Of course, it's going to be messy, emotional-wise. And they're going to kill each other. They're going to try. But having it in that building, which is so special to those guys, it's just... It will be the best match in the tournament. Emotion-wise, storyline-wise, and just match-wise. The full combination. It will be the best match in the tournament. Then, of course, you get to the G1 final. It's in Budokan, which is a great building, of course. It won't have the same... as soon as Budokan was announced, pretty much people expected Ibushi Omega to be announced because of the history. Other than that, people just know it's a great venue. That's all I know of it. I just know the history between Ibushi and Omega. And that's it. I just know it's a great venue. And they haven't run it for many years because they were afraid they couldn't sell it out. And now they've sold it out in 20 minutes, which is incredible. It's such a great sign for New Japan. I see the final as Ibushi versus Okada. Of course, if that happens, that will be the second best match in the tournament. It will be absolutely incredible. Probably be 40 minutes of them trying to kill each other. Which, of course, I see Okada going over. I think Okada does win the G1 this year. I think every night has the opportunity to have a great match. And there's some matches that are on the undercard, essentially, of the 5 matches that could still show. I think this tournament is set up to be one of the best, probably the best one I've seen of the tournaments. I've only seen 3, obviously. This will be my 3rd one. I think this will be the best of the 3. I think stories are a lot more interesting to tell. Of course, I had no idea about the stories going into 26. And the fact that they actually put Kenny over and being the first foreigner to win really shocked a lot of people. But I, of course, had no knowledge of that story going in. I didn't know he kicked AJ out of the Bullet Club going in. And he was IC champ, and then he was, lost it. And then, that was his first G1 and making the run through. But I do think that Okada wins. I think he has a rematch, or Jake challenges him for the briefcase, and he retains, obviously. Which I think another rematch between him and storyline wise as well could be really fun. And then of course I see. I don't think Ibushi challenges Kenny for the belt, even though he wins. Of course, this is all assuming that Cody doesn't win the belt at San Francisco, which I don't see him doing. I'd be pretty upset if Kenny had a month-long reign with that belt, and I just don't think. And Cody's not in the G1. I think that's the biggest thing. Is if Cody was in the G1, it'd be so much more of a chance that he would win in San Francisco. But since he's not, I don't see him winning. But I think Ibushi doesn't challenge Kenny for the belt. I don't think he wants to. I think storyline-wise, he won't want to. But I think Naito does. And so you have Naito versus Kenny for the belt at King of Pro Wrestling, where they in Ryugoku, where they've had their two amazing matches between the G1 B Block Finals in 2016 and then the final last year. And I don't know who goes over yet. Maybe that'll be more clear to me the closer we get to October, because that's a long way away at this point. But I do think the Wrestle Kingdom main event will be Okada with the briefcase versus either Kenny or Naito. I don't know if they'll have Naito again, just because I don't know what their feelings are on the main event this year from Wrestle Kingdom 12. It was a good match. I thought it was really underrated, which is weird for me to say about a Wrestle Kingdom main event. But I think it was underrated, and I think they could do it again with Naito going in as champ. And I think you would have Okada win. The only thing is I don't know who would win in that sense, but that's for a video at a later time. So I want to thank you guys for sticking through this video if you've made it to this point. This is really a new thing for me to do. It's fun. I don't have a lot of people to talk about this with, and so being able to share my thoughts with the world through this is very entertaining to me. I'm gonna be doing more. My next couple podcasts, I guess we're calling them podcasts, we'll have to deal with gaming. I'm going to do an E3 review, kind of go through a list of E3 games and conferences and go over them and see what my thoughts are. And then I'm doing another one to go over my April and May movies that I saw, because I subscribe to a movie subscription service, and so I go see movies all the time now. I see them as a fan though, so don't think you're going to get a lot of real analysis out of me. We're just going to go through it as just fans enjoying the movie, and whether or not you should spend the money on it or buy it on DVD or whatnot. And then I do, for all my wrestling fans that are watching this, I do have a plan to go through every night of the G1 and give my thoughts on every night. Usually upload it the next day. Try to catch the shows the next day and upload a video talking about my thoughts on them. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on Wednesday with my E3 review. Thank you very much.